G'day crew, you're back with Slate and Jury, and this is 3CIR on the move. I'm Joel Slate Cairns, and if you can hear the grin in my voice, it's because we're talking about one of my favourite things today, getting good people great recognition for what they already know.
And I'm Ryan Jury Delaney, here to make sure Slate doesn't start issuing parade ground orders 5 minutes in. Welcome to the show. We're here because 3CIR was built by veterans for veterans and our emergency services family. Courage, commitment, camaraderie, integrity, respect. Those aren't wall art for us, right? That's the kit we carry into every conversation.
Exactly. 3CIR started with ADF Army vets who knew firsthand what it feels like to leave service and stare down that weird in-between. I've got skills, I've got stories, but how do I show they count out in Civvy Street? We exist to bridge that transition, especially through RPL, recognition of prior learning, and online qualifications, so you can move with purpose.
If you're new here, picture this like a barracks brew room chat that turns into a plan. We'll laugh, we'll nudge you, and by the end, you'll have something practical you can do today. And hey, if you're listening on a commute or between shifts, you're in the right spot. We keep it real.
Today's headline is clean and simple: ADF transition and military RPL. If you've ever thought I did a decade of leadership, risk, logistics, but job ads keep asking for certificates, this episode is your launchpad.
Let's crack it open. What is military RPL? Recognition of prior learning is where your service experience gets mapped to civilian qualifications. You've already done the work, but see leadership, decision-making, procurement, logistics, the whole show, and RPL validates it in the language recruiters can't miss.
I'll put it this way. In my last posting, I ran a logistics op that'd make a supply chain manager sweat. We had time on target demands, multi-node dependencies, and accountability for lives, not just widgets. In defense, that's called Tuesday. Outside, that's certificate level proof of advanced capability. RPL translates Tuesday into a qualification.
And 3CIR lives in that translation. We specialize in Army RPL, Navy RPL, Air Force RPL, but it doesn't stop there. Police, paramedics, firefighters, our emergency services mates, you're all covered. If you wear a uniform, or used to, we see your skills.
Quick one before we go deeper. There's a free RPL assessment you can take. No fluff. It's a straightforward way to find out what quals your experience might map to. We'll circle back to how that feels step by step, but for now, pin this. Free assessment, quick clarity.
And I'm jumping in because this is gold. All current and former military and emergency services personnel get a 25% discount across all qualifications. Always, no exceptions. That's not marketing noise. That's a standing respect payment.
Right. Now, let's get real about why RPL is such a lever. Plenty of jobs require a formal qualification even if you've done the job in spirit 10 times over. Without that cert, companies hesitate to put you in senior roles. They don't know the language of "I ran a troop and sorted a crisis with 2 radios and no sleep." They know certificate rifle or diploma.
Happens all the time. You scroll Seek, you see operations manager, what must have diploma, and you're thinking, I've led 35 people across 3 locations, I've done Excel calcs in a blackout. But if your CV doesn't have the paper, you get ghosted. RPL flips that. It tells the system, don't sleep on this one. They're already trained.
Picture a dental tech from the service eyeing a role in health administration. Not the same badge, but loads of overlap. Protocols, records management, compliance, sterile procedures, patient flow. RPL threads the needle between what you did and what the new role asks for.
And then the benefits roll in. You open doors to better career prospects, step into interviews with certainty, and you can justify a higher salary. Promotions stop being a pep talk and start being a plan. That's the point.
Okay, pump the brakes just a tick. Let's unpack the free assessment because people always ask, how much work is this going to be? The first step is light. You tell us your service background. Army, Navy, Air Force, or emergency services. The roles you held, rough responsibilities, any training you remember. Doesn't have to be exhaustive on day one.
Then one of our assessors gets in touch and says, here's what we think you might be eligible for, and here's the kind of evidence that helps. That might be service records, operation orders you authored, training logs, commendations, performance reports, or even references from people who saw you do the thing. And if you're thinking, I've got a shoebox of stuff and a headache, don't panic. You don't have to make it Pinterest perfect. We help you sort it.
This is where our veteran DNA helps. We know how defense files look, how emergency services document incidents, where to find the proof you forgot you had. We know the rhythm of your story before you tell it, and that makes the translation fast.
Let's talk flavours of RPL. Work health and safety first. With tech ramping up in workplaces, you've got new machinery, automation, data dashboards, and a messy interface of humans and systems. Someone has to spot hazards, write safe work procedures, run risk assessments, and keep people alive and productive. That someone might be you, because you've been doing it since day dot.
If you ever did a job safety assessment before a live range or managed a vehicle pack with an intimate relationship to load restraint, you've been living WHS. An RPL in work health and safety makes that visible. Recruiters want to see you can identify, assess, and control risk. That's second nature to you. RPL turns it into a qualification they can bank on.
Now, leadership and management. My soapbox. If you've led a section, flight, division, or a full station shift, you've coached under pressure, managed rosters, resolved conflict, made calls with incomplete info, and measured outcomes. That's leadership theory wearing boots. Our leadership and management pathway consolidates that into recognized quals that corporate HR eats up.
It's corporate growth fuel. You're not starting at ground zero. You're stepping in at the level your experience demands. And once you've got that base qualification through RPL, you can build with targeted subjects, finance, strategy, project management, without redoing your life story.
Security and risk management is another heavy hitter. Think of the times you conducted threat assessments, wrote access protocols, or briefed on situational awareness. That's security. In finance and corporate, risk management is a discipline of its own. So an RPL here doesn't just open doors, it puts you on a path. There's even a diploma of security and risk management if you're hungry to go deep.
And it's not just guarding a door, it's vendor risk, cyber basics, business continuity, crisis leadership, all the stuff you've danced with in real-world ops. The RPL helps employers see you've done more than nod along at a safety brief. You built the thing.
Government pathways are worth a look too. Our certificate IV in government, including the security stream, is a clean on-ramp if you're heading into public sector roles. You get the language of policy, procurement, compliance. You learn how the wheels of government turn without getting your fingers caught.
I want to tie this back to ADF transition, because we see the same anxiety again and again. You go from a place where your rank and posting tell the story to a world of job boards and interviews where everyone's smiling and asking for selection criteria. That can feel like a completely new battlefield.
Yeah, and the temptation is to downplay what you did. Don't. You've been measured by standards most people never touch. The trick is presenting it in a way that's legible to civilians. That's RPL. It's a translator and a megaphone.
And on that, 3CIR is more than just paperwork. We're here to walk you through mindset, how you talk about your accomplishments, how you position your stories so they show capability and not just cool moments. We've got resources, videos across leadership, HR, WHS, security, business, marketing, government, project management, short, practical, watch them on lunch break kind of resources.
I sneak those videos between gym sets. True story. There's one on leadership that basically says, you don't need to shout to lead. You need to be clear, fair, and present. Sounds familiar, right? It's the same integrity we had in service, reframed for the boardroom.
Let's put skin on it with a couple of examples. Imagine you're a Navy boatswain's mate who spent years coordinating deck ops, supervising small teams, and enforcing safety protocols in dynamic conditions. You're eyeing a role as a WHS advisor on a port project. With RPL, your on-deck risk management maps to WHS competencies, your team supervision maps to leadership units, your incident response maps to emergency control. Now your resume says precisely what that employer needs to hear.
Or, say you're a sergeant in Army logistics. You've mastered inventory control, vendor management, convoy security, and problem solving at 0300 when a truck's stuck and comms are patchy. You're aiming for operations coordinator in a big retail chain. RPL can surface supply chain equivalence plus a leadership qualification, and suddenly you're not pivoting, you're progressing.
Here's a curveball one. Firefighter moving into corporate risk. You know hazard analysis cold, you can write a clear incident report in your sleep, and you've led on-scene teams. RPL in security and risk management mixed with WHS competencies might make you not just eligible but competitive.
And for our police listeners, your investigative work, brief writing, evidence handling, and community liaison map to government, compliance, and security streams. It's not starting from scratch, it's realigning the scope.
Let's answer a question we get constantly. How long does RPL take? It depends on evidence and the qualification, but here's the promise. We keep momentum. The free assessment shows you pathways. Then we help assemble evidence with you, not at you. You don't have to relive your entire career, just the relevant threads.
Also, we often hear, do I need to do more study after RPL? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. RPL covers what you've already learned and can prove. If a qualification has gaps you haven't covered, we fill those with targeted learning. No busy work, no learn to lead from a whiteboard courses if you've led in the field for years, just the missing links.
That last piece matters when you're balancing a job, family, or decompressing after service. We're not here to add noise. We're here to create a clean path with the least friction.
And if you're on the fence, consider the opportunity cost. Without RPL, you might spend months applying to roles slightly below your capacity because your CV doesn't speak the language. With RPL, you present as fully formed for the tier you deserve. Faster interviews, better offers, and often higher pay. It's not theory, we've seen it.
Quick myth busting. Myth 1. I need a degree to be taken seriously. Not always. In many leadership, WHS and security roles, a nationally recognized certificate or diploma with relevant experience can outrun a bachelor without applied runs on the board. RPL lets you maximize the weight of what you've already done.
Myth 2. My service skills are too niche. Brother, sister, if you've ever steadied a team in a high-stress moment, you're carrying quarter-ton transferable skills. We just need to label them correctly. Decision-making under pressure, that's a competency. Planning and executing, that's project management. Mentoring, that's people and performance. You know what I mean?
Myth 3. It's going to cost a bomb. Remember the 25% discount for all current and former military and emergency services personnel. Always, no exceptions. And the free assessment costs you nothing but a few minutes and a coffee. Value starts early.
Since we're on value, let's talk promotions. You might already be in a solid job, but hitting a ceiling because HR says you need a specific cert to move up. RPL can unlock that promotion without asking you to pause your life. Upskill where needed, carry on climbing.
And salary. Money doesn't make the world go round, but it pays for footy registrations, mortgage interest, and the good coffee beans. A formal qualification plus proven experience gives you leverage to negotiate. You don't have to be pushy, you just need evidence. RPL gives you that.
I want to loop back to security and risk management because people hear it and think bouncers and CCTV. Nah. It's enterprise risk. It's the web of security, compliance, and resilience that lets companies operate safely. If you've planned for contingencies, managed access to restricted zones, or built response plans, you're already speaking that language.
And if you have an appetite to dig in, the Diploma of Security and Risk Management is a great progression. It signals strategic capability, not just operational. It's the bridge from doing to directing.
On government, I'll add this. Public sector hiring can be very qualification driven because of policy frameworks. The certificate I vaux in government is like showing up at the gate with the right pass. It says, I understand process, ethics, and accountability. Pair that with your service background and you're not just another applicant, you're a safe pair of hands.
One of my favourite parts of this work is how often people underestimate themselves. They'll say, oh, I only managed a small team. Then we unpack it and realize they were running a 24/7 roster with rotating constraints, mentoring under pressure, risk profiling on the fly, and reporting up 3 levels. That's not only, that's management in the wild.
And that's why we make our videos short and specific. You don't need an hour-long lecture to remember your competence. You need a 3-minute nudge that helps you translate competence into job market language. Leadership, HR, WHS, security, business, marketing, government, project management. There's a clip for the moment you're in.
All right, let's get tactical. If you're listening right now and ready to move, here's a clean sequence. 1. Hit the free RPL assessment. It's the fastest way to see your map. 2. Gather easy wins in evidence. Job titles, responsibilities, any formal course names, commendations. Don't overthink it. 3. Speak with our assessor, who will help align your experience with the right qualification.
4. Choose your pathway. WHS, leadership and management, security and risk, government, or a blend that fits your target role. 5. Fill any identified gaps with targeted learning, online, flexible, and relevant. 6. Update your CV and LinkedIn with the new qualification, then apply with confidence. Not cockiness, confidence.
And if you're early in transition, maybe you're 6 months out from leaving defense, or you're just about to clock off your last emergency services night shift, starting the assessment now means you can walk into civilian life with paperwork in hand, not scrambling to catch up.
One more thing on camaraderie, we're not transactional. If you need a pep talk before an interview, or you want to rehearse your 5-bullet story about leading through chaos, reach out. Part of our mission is to help you show up well. The skills are in you. We help frame them.
I can hear someone thinking, but what if I don't know where I want to land yet? Great. Start with RPL anyway. A few qualifications open a few doors and you can test roles without committing 10 years to a path you're not sure about. RPL is an options amplifier.
Let's put a bow on the ADF transition theme with this. You've already done hard things. The civilian market is not an obstacle course. It's a translation exercise. Get help translating and you'll realize the door was open all along.
Before we glide into the close, a couple of quick hits. If you led safety briefs, check WHS. If you wrote rosters, mentored juniors, or ran debriefs, check leadership and management. If you handled threat assessments or access control, check security and risk. If you dealt with policy, procurement, or compliance, check government. And if you wore a uniform, use the discount. Always, no exceptions.
And don't forget the Army RPL, Navy RPL, Air Force RPL. Your service has a name and so does your qualification pathway. Same for our police, paramedics, firefighters, and broader emergency services crew. You're in the tent with us.
I'll share a quick story to land the plane. A mate of mine, Air Force avionics tech, swore his skills were too aircraft specific to matter outside. We ran the free assessment. Turns out his fault finding under pressure, documentation discipline, and safety systems knowledge lined up cleanly with a WHS qualification and a technical operations certificate. 6 months later, he's a safety coordinator at a major manufacturer, and he texts me, "Why did I wait so long?"
Happens every week, and it's not just jobs, it's identity. When people see their service mapped to something the outside world recognizes, there's this settling of the shoulders. They stop apologizing for their background and start owning it.
That's what we're here for. Recognition, direction, momentum.
All right, let's set you up for what's next on the pod. We're about to dive deeper in our next episode into Defense RPL and Military RPL courses, specifically the nuts and bolts. We'll talk about why Defense RPL systems matter, what defense qualifications look like in practice, how your service shapes your education options, and where the real opportunities are hiding.
We'll show you how to pick the right defense-aligned course without overstudying, how to stack RPL with targeted learning, and how to speak to selection criteria like you wrote them. If you thought today gave you a map, next time we give you waypoints.
In the meantime, take that free RPL assessment, thumb through the 3 CIR videos on leadership, HR, WHS, security, business, marketing, government, project management. There's a rabbit hole worth going down. And if you're in uniform now, or ever wore one, lock in that 25% discount. Always, no exceptions. It's there for you.
Keep your head up, keep your standards high, and remember, your experience counts. We'll help you prove it.
Catch you in the next one, legends. Bring a coffee and a question. We'll bring the answers and a laugh.